Tootsie Time, oh yeah, Tootsie Time, oh yeah.
Yo, what's good? It's your girl Tootsie and you're watching Tootsie Time, and of course I am back with another story time. Ignore my nails because I just like ripped off my acrylics yesterday. Don't you hate when people draw attention to something they ask you to ignore? So I'm here with another story time. This one is a little bit more serious than my other ones. This is some scary stuff that happened to me, okay? So this one's a bit more why am I smiling? This one is a little bit more serious. Don't ask me why I'm smiling. It makes no sense. So this started when I went to my friend Jamal's house, and this is not the same Jamal from my last story time about killing someone's baby. This is not that Jamal. A lot of people comment, is that the same Jamal that you're friends with? No. That Jamal was in Florida. This Jamal is in the UK. Two different people. No. So I went to my friend Jamal's house and I was just going to go over and chill. He also had an iPhone 5 he was trying to sell. This was at the time when the iPhone 5 just came out and I actually had an iPhone 4 at the time. So he was selling an iPhone 5. I was like, you better give that to me. And because we're friends, he was about to give me a nice little good deal, a little hookup, whatever. So I was going to buy his iPhone and I was also just going to go over there and chill because that's what we do. So I packed my little bag and then I went to his house. Now I get to his house, we're chilling, whatever. He sells me the iPhone. I've got the iPhone. I also brought my MacBook and my actual iPhone. And did I have my iPad? I can't remember if I brought my iPad with me, but I know I definitely had my MacBook. So I had that all in my bag when I went to his house. Okay. So as we're chilling, we've been chilling at his house for a good couple hours. We couldn't decide if we wanted to go out or if we wanted to stay in and watch a movie. So he gets a phone call from one of his friends. So basically he was also selling a couple of other things. Like he was selling his iPhone 5, which he sold to me. He was selling a watch. He was selling an MP3 player. I think he was also selling his computer. He was selling a bunch of stuff trying to raise some money for something that he wanted. So he basically got a phone call from his friend saying, oh, have you still got the watch for sale? Because I've got someone who's interested in buying the watch. So he's like on the phone basically getting really excited, telling the guy like, yes, I still have the watch. Oh, yeah. And basically like miming to me, I'm about to get someone. So then I'm just like looking at him like, okay. So he gets off the phone to me. He's like, oh my gosh, the watch that I've been trying to sell, somebody wants to buy it. They're going to buy it right now for £600. I'm like, what? Like the watch isn't even worth £600. It was a toy watch. Toy watch is a brand underneath Rolex. It's like the baby company of Rolex. If you don't know what toy watch is, I guess you can Google it. But toy watch was the brand. And the watch was about £300-400. And he said someone was going to buy it for 600. So he was obviously gassed. I'm getting gassed too. I'm like, okay, like, you know when someone's getting really excited and you're just like trying to digest it and you're like, so he's getting excited. He's like, come, let's go now and sell the watch. And I'm like, oh, now like I'm tired. Like I just thought he was gonna chill at your house, watch a little movie. He's like, no, please come, let's go right now. £600, let's see. I'm like, okay. He's like, I'll give you half. I'm like, bitch, you are not about to give me half of your monies. He's like, no, I'm for real, I'm dead serious. Like, let's go right now and I'll give you half the money. 300 for me, 300 for you. He's like, I didn't expect to sell the watch for this much, so I really don't even care at this point. So I'm like, £300 for doing absolute nothing. Okay, we can go. Like, we can go right now. So we had gotten Jamal's mum to drive us to the train station. She was going to drive us to the train station and we was going to take the train. But we didn't want to take the train in the end. So when she drove us to the train station, I said, let me just pay for a cab. And he's like, are you sure? And I'm like, let's pay for a cab. I'm about to have £300 anyway. So what do I care if I'm paying for a cab? The reason why he was asking me if I'm sure is because where he lived versus where we were going was really far. So the cab fare would have been quite a lot. But I'm like, I don't really care. Like, I'm about to get £300 from you. So he's like, okay, definitely, like as soon as we get the money, like we're gonna split it, you get your money back. So I'm like, okay, cool. So we call the cab and we get in the cab. By the way, we're going to Manor Park. So if you live in London, that's where we're going. We're going to Manor Park. So we get to Manor Park, and if anyone's been to Manor Park, you know they have the square. So that's where we was told to meet this guy, at the square. So we get to the square, we're the only ones there. Mind you, it is like 9 or 10 o'clock at night and it is dark, okay? It is dark, nobody's there, no one's out, no one's on the streets. Basically there's a main high road, like the main street where everything is going, and then once you get into the square, that's like, it's like kind of closed off, like no one will see you in the square. So no one's there, we're standing there waiting. We see in the distance this tall as hell, just black figure just emerge from out of the shadow. So he comes over and we can hear him on the phone. He's on the phone and he's talking really loud and he's saying something like, oh, no, like, I don't want that. I want the Benz. Like, trust me, get me the Benz. Like, and he's just talking like he's about that life, and like he's bad. He's talking about now the Benz and the Rari. Like, no man, I said I want the Rari, but then he came with the Benz, and I was like, no. I looked at Jamal like, this better not be the guy. Like, this better not be the guy, because he's talking about Ferraris and Mercedes Benzes, but he's wearing like a really big black hood raincoat, and then he's wearing like tracksuit bottoms. He's got on a beanie hat. His shoes look beat up, first of all. His jogging bottoms actually look jack up because they look too short for him, ankle swingers. And I'm just like, this better not be the guy. So then he walks up to us, and then he goes to Jamal. He's like, Jamal, yeah? He's like, oh, yeah. Mind you, I had the watch on my wrist because Jamal was like, okay, my friend just told me that this is their friend. I've never met them before, and you never know what could go down. So can you take the watch in case he tries to do anything? So I'm like, yeah, I'll wear the watch. So I'm wearing the watch at this time. So when the guy comes, I just know he was really tall. And listen, I'm tall, Jamal's tall. Jamal's like 6'1" or something. So this guy was taller than both. He must have been like 7 foot, okay? And he was just really tall. He had an unshaven beard. He just looked a mess, a scruffy mess. And I didn't really like the vibe of him. But I'm just like, okay, cool. So he goes, oh yeah, so let me see the watch. So then Jamal looks at me because he knows I'm wearing it. So then I'm like, bam! So then he looks at the watch on my wrist. He's like, cool. And he's like, come, let's go over here. So when he said, come, let's go over here, like, that's road talk for some shit's about to go down. So I was trying to make hints to Jamal to let's go. So I started, like, doing a little dance and saying I had to pee. And I'm like, oh, I have to pee. And then Jamal looks at me and he didn't say anything. And then the guy was looking at me like, we're not going to be long, this ain't going to be long. So then we're walking, and as we're walking up, we're just walking for ages, and I'm like, no, I really have to pee. Like, I really have to pee. Like, I have to pee really badly. And me looking at Jamal without saying anything, I'm just thinking, nigga, as my best friend, can you understand what I am trying to telepathically communicate with you right now? Jamal was oblivious to the whole thing. Like, he was just saying, oh, do you want to pee in the bush? Like, I'm trying to say let's go. So obviously the peeing thing didn't work. They was basically just saying, even the guy was like, do you need to go somewhere? Like, do you need to? And then I'm just like, no, I'll be fine. So then we get to the end of the road where he took us. And then, mind you, I have on my bag that I brought to Jamal's house with my MacBook in it, my iPhone 4, and the iPhone 5 that Jamal just sold me. So I have a whole heap of apples in my bag. So I'm standing there, and it's cold, it's nighttime, and the guy, as we get to the end, he turns to me, and then he goes, what, is that your girlfriend, yeah? That's what he said to Jamal. He was looking at me, and then he says to Jamal, is that your girlfriend, yeah? And then Jamal was like, no, she's my sister. So he was like, oh, sister, yeah? And then he comes up to me, and he pats down my thighs. He goes, what you got for me? What you got for me? At that point, listen, if someone says what you got for me, you're getting robbed. Like, you're getting robbed. He said, what you got for me? So then at that point, I was just like, nah. That's all I could say. I literally had my head to the side and I was like, nah. With my hands in the air, nah. And I was doing this, I was like, nah. And then he left me, and then he went up to Jamal. And then he was like, basically patting down Jamal and saying, what you got? He was going in Jamal's pockets. He was going like all around his jacket, everything. At this time, Jamal had the watch, because after I showed him the watch on my wrist and the time it was taken for us to basically walk up to the street where he was leading us to rob us, basically Jamal had asked me to give the watch because I guess he felt safe or whatever. And then he said, oh, let me have the watch. And then he took the watch from me, and Jamal had the watch. So the guy is basically doing all this, and I'm just standing there like, should I try to fight him? If I try to fight him, will Jamal back me up and then we can jump this guy? Or is Jamal not gonna fight back and then the guy's gonna do something? Then all of a sudden I see shine. I see a shine glisten, and I'm like, shit, that's a knife. The guy has a knife and he's right there robbing Jamal. What the hell do I do? I've got my MacBook and all my stuff. I'm like, crap, I'm about to get robbed for all my belongings, and he's about to get robbed. We might get stabbed. Like, I literally froze. And then I realized right there by the bush was the entrance, like an exit to the bus stop / main road. So I ran, knowing the area, I ran onto the main road knowing that there was a payphone right there. I didn't want to take out my iPhone and start calling for help because he might see me and then come and jack my iPhone. So I ran to the payphone, and to my surprise, there was police right across the street. And I'm like, hallelujah, thank you, Jesus. So I ran across the street. I'm like, help, help, help. They were dealing with someone, and I just did not care. I was like, help, my brother's being robbed. My brother is being robbed right now in the bush. My brother is being robbed in the bush right now. And then he's like, why is it that police always want to tell you to calm down? I'm like, what do you mean calm down? My brother is getting robbed in this bush behind us right now. So this is slow down, tell me exactly what's happening. As I'm trying to speak again, I see Jamal emerge from the bushes. He comes running up to us, and he was like, oh my gosh. He was like, oh, you got the police. And I'm like, where's the guy? Like, what happened? And Jamal was like, he's gone, he's gone. I'm like, what do you mean he's gone? He's like, yeah, he took my phone and he took the watch, he's gone. I was like, are you hurt? He's like, I'm not hurt. And I'm like, are you okay? He's like, I'm fine. And then he basically explained everything to the police officer, and then the police took us in the back of the car and said, we'll go down to the police station and we'll make a report. So we go to the police station. We basically both tell our sides of the story. They take the report. Now, as we're at the police station and taking the reports, on the way there in the car, the police officer is already like radioing these little codes and whatever. So while we was at the police station, like halfway into giving our our statements, basically the police officer gets a call and says that they've just picked up a guy around the Manor Park area. So we asked him, did he have a watch on him and a BlackBerry? The police officer couldn't tell us that. He said, but we've basically found a guy around the area that matches your description. So we're like, cool, like, what's gonna happen now? He's like, well, you have to identify him. So by the time we got home, I got home around 3 in the morning, and then went to sleep the next day now. So the next day, Jamal actually told me that the police had called him and they said that they've got the guy, they think they've got the guy, and he needs to go and identify them. But basically he was saying he didn't want to identify the guy, he didn't want to go to court because we would have to go to court and would have to basically testify, and he's saying he didn't want to do that. And I'm like, but you don't have to go to court straight away. I'm pretty sure we can go identify him in like a space where they can't see who's basically telling, because he was basically saying he didn't want to be a snitch, and the guy knew he would have been a snitch, and then he would have come after him for being a snitch. And I'm like, but I'm sure there's ways that the police can let us do it where he won't know. And he's like, well, it's a bit obvious, he robbed us. Unless he robbed a bunch of people that night, it's obviously going to be us who snitched. So I'm like, okay, cool. So after I get off the phone with Jamal, I actually got a phone from the police also, and they were saying the same thing. They was basically like, okay, we called up your brother. And mind you, they thought we were real brother and sister this whole time. But yeah, he was like, yeah, we called up your brother, and he doesn't want to identify the guy, but this guy really does fit your description, and we really think it's him. And I think it will be best if you can come and identify him so he can be basically punished for what he's done. So I'm just like, because I really wanted to snitch. Like, I don't care, I wanted to snitch. Like, you want to pull out a knife and try and rob? Well, he didn't try and rob, he successfully robbed. I wanted to snitch. So I'm like, oh, Jamal's asked me not to. I've like promised him that I wouldn't. So I'm like, no, I'm sorry. Like, I do want to, but I have to respect his wishes. He was the one that got his stuff taken, not me. So I'm not really going to go against what he's saying. So they're like begging me at this point, like, please, can you come and identify? I'm like, I'm sorry, there's nothing I can do. So they're like, okay, well, basically the guy's gonna get let free because we have no reason to keep him, and then he'll just go and rob other people in the street. And I'm like, damn, like, you're giving me all this sass and sarcasm. And basically she was trying to say, thanks to me, there will be another criminal let free on the street that you could have basically prevented. And I'm just like, so that was the end of that. I mean, the guy never got caught, obviously. Jamal's stuff never got returned, obviously, and that was the time got robbed by knife point. Till this day, like, I don't know if I done the right thing, because when I think back to the story, it's like so funny when you always think, oh, if someone ever done this, I would do this and I would do that. I never knew what I would do if I saw a knife and someone tried to rob me or rob someone I was with and it happened. Like, so I'm just thankful he never got hurt, I never got hurt, we were completely fine, because I could have ran across the street for the police or to use the payphone like I was going to, and he could have been stabbed just like that. And then I don't even know how I would live with myself. So to this day, I don't even know if what I done was the right thing. It's just like, it's different when you're in the situation, you react differently to how you think you would react. But thank you, Jesus, we were both fine, nobody got hurt. This was years ago anyway, so there's no trauma. Like, no one's traumatized, we've gotten over it. This was like a few years ago, so yeah, man. And then even after that whole situation, I'm like, okay, Jamal, we didn't get him locked up or whatever, but the guy who actually called you and said, my friend will buy your watch, he set you up. Like, how are you saying that's your friend? He's like, oh no, he wouldn't do that, that's my friend. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, he set you up. How did the guy come in and rob you? And he actually called the guy. He called his friend, and his friend was like, oh really? Oh, I can't believe you done that. No, I'm gonna find out what's going on. Like, I'm like, really? So anyway, that was the end of my story time. Be safe, you guys. Don't go in no alleyways trying to sell watches. And this is one reason why I don't use things like Gumtree. You know, like when people sell things on Gumtree and then you have to meet up to buy. No, I don't do things like that for simple things like this. People are crazy. Don't be going to no back alleys, no back roads. Don't be trying to sell stuff to people you don't know. When it comes to expensive goods and monies, I'm not involved. So yeah, be safe, you guys. I hope you guys like this story, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Yeah, she's got that good stuff. That's Tootsie Time, oh yeah. Comment and like the vid. Subscribe if you wanna. Yeah, she's got that good stuff. That's Tootsie Time, oh yeah. Tootsie Time, oh yeah. Tootsie Time, oh yeah.